Hey, good afternoon, everyone. In this video, we're going to discuss on Lean Six Sigma as a toolkit. So what do you think these guys have in common? I'm flashing a picture here right now. There are three individuals. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with this guy. So the first one is Roger Moore, who played James Bond. And the second guy is a guy called MacGyver, played by Richard Dean Anderson. It's a popular TV show in the 80s. And of course, the third one is Batman. So the question is, what do these guys have in common with Lean Six Sigma? And the answer is that you can consider Lean Six Sigma as a toolkit. So Lean Six Sigma is a methodology that helps businesses deal with their processes to make it cost effective, to improve the turnaround time, and to reduce the defects. Okay, but at the same time, you can consider Lean Six Sigma not just as a methodology, but also as a set of tools. Okay, and Lean Six Sigma has, in fact, a lot of tools, and I'll just be giving you some examples of the tools of Lean Six Sigma. This guy, MacGyver here, he uses this set of tools to escape in a tough situation. You have Batman here who has gadgets. He has the belt. He has this probably an arrow or a sling that helps him to get out of tough situations. And of course, you have James Bond with his gadgets as well that would help him fight the bad guys. So the guys that I've just mentioned is quite similar to Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma when you're a practitioner. Because when you are a Lean Six Sigma practitioner, you will have a lot of tools at your disposal that will help you address problems that you get to encounter in the workplace. And this is also quite relevant for a freelancer who will be dealing with different types of challenges and problems when dealing with the customer. So these are some of the tools that the Lean Six Sigma toolkit has. So, for example, we have the VOC to CTQ, we have the anti-solution, Poka-Yoke, value stream map. So these are just some of the tools that you will encounter when you study Lean Six Sigma. I'll provide you some examples of these tools, and I will reflect that to some of the everyday occurrence or some of the news that came about. So, for example, this one. The Spanish rail had a costly blunder recently because they designed new trains that were too large for their tunnels. So when I first saw this news, I said, "Oh, there's a Six Sigma tool that could have been used here that could have prevented this problem." And a couple of years back, this is a funny incident as well. There was a Chinese manufacturer who were producing condoms and selling it to Zimbabwe. And the Zimbabwe's health minister complained that the condoms that the Chinese manufacturer produced were too small. So when I read this news as well, I thought that, a Lean Six Sigma tool could have been used here. And that tool that I had in mind is what we call the VOC to CTQ. Okay, it's a Lean Six Sigma tool, and it stands for Voice of the Customer, Too Critical to Quality. So this is a type of tool that is used in Lean Six Sigma when you want to translate your customer needs. Okay, so you translate the needs of your customer into something that eliminates ambiguity. Okay, you want to specify his requirements. Okay? And therefore, if you're able to translate the customer requirements, then you have a higher chances of satisfying your customer. So that's one of the tools of Lean Six Sigma, the VOC to CTQ. So going back to that example of the Spanish company,
if they had translated, you know, the customer requirements into, you know, the size of the train, then that problem could have been avoided. Also, in the case of the condom manufacturer, if they asked for their customers and translated their requirements, then they could have produced a size that would have appeased the customer. So that's one of the tools, the VOC2 CTQ. This one is an example that's specifically for the Philippines. It's what we call the NBI, the National Bureau of Investigation. Some people might have experienced this when they were getting for their NBI clearance. The queue can be long. I had experience, for example, of, you know, being in the queue for 2 hours, and as soon as I get to the window, I will only have a touch time or the interaction time with the person in the window for simply 5 minutes, and then I'll transfer again to another window, and I'll wait for another time. So it's probably that the total transaction time is 3 hours, but the actual what we call touch time with the person, you know, using this data is probably just 5 to 10 minutes. So with this in mind, if you have a process that, you know, has this long waiting time, a tool that could be useful in Six Sigma is what we call a value stream map. So a value stream map maps your process and identify what we can consider as waste. Okay, or waste is anything that doesn't add value to the customer. So going back to the NBI example, if they had streamlined their process, then they might have minimized the waiting time for the customer. Okay, here's another example that I read in the news. I think this was in 2018. A Kenyan doctor performs brain surgery on the wrong patient. And then, oh my God, okay, when I read this news, first thing that came to mind, oh, they could have used a tool in Six Sigma called Poka-Yoke. So what is Poka-Yoke? It is a tool used in Six Sigma to identify what could be the potential errors and making sure that these errors don't happen. Okay, so it's just a tool or an approach to a process that helps you identify and prevent errors. Poka-Yoke. So those were just some of the tools that you get to encounter when you study on Lean Six Sigma. And throughout my career, I've been exposed to different types of challenges, different types of processes. So here are just some of the challenges or problems that I've encountered throughout my career. I had this opportunity to improve the EHS scorecard of a company in 12 months. There was one instance where I had to reduce the purchasing cycle time. There's one where I had a project dealing with the improvement of the maintenance process. There was one process where I had to reduce what we call the sugar variance, which is in the production company. There's also an instance where I had to work with a client to make sure that face-to-face meeting becomes effective. And there was also I had an experience as well where we tried to migrate to a new process, which is fairly unknown, and we want to identify what were the potential risks and address them. So basically, the takeaway here is that the Lean Six Sigma Toolkit is something that you can use for various types of processes. And there are several levels in Six Sigma. There's the white belt, yellow belt, green belt, and black belt. As you progress through these belts, the tools become quite complicated, and the use of math becomes more prevalent. However, in my experience, a typical freelancer would probably just need what we call a yellow belt level of Six Sigma. Okay, so a freelancer who studies the yellow belt level of Six Sigma would already have the tools that are needed to make him and his task more productive and more efficient. So what's in it for you if you study Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma? What are the benefits? So in my experience, actually, the relationship of the degree that we studied in college and the field work can be totally, different, or it's probably only 5% of what we learn in college is something that we get to use when we get out there in the real world. What makes a person effective is everyone has what we call the domain expertise, and this is where we're really good at. You can be good in environmental engineering. You can be good in chemical engineering. My background is in chemical engineering. So that's the domain expertise part. And when you have Lean Six Sigma combined together, then you would have a sweet spot that can help you in your career, okay? Whether you are in the workplace or you are a freelancer. So there are three things that I can think of on how Lean Six Sigma can help you. One is you become more customer focused. Okay, there are lots of tools in Lean Six Sigma that puts your perspective from the mind of the customer, and once you have that customer in your mind, you're able to provide your services that would satisfy your customer. So customer focus. One thing that I also like about Six Sigma is the process orientation. So regardless of the fields that you have experience in, it gives you the confidence to tackle new processes, because in the Six Sigma world, everything is just a process. Okay, there's an input and there's an output and there is a transformation. And if you get to see that, everything is just a process, then you are able to transfer the skills that you learn from the different tools. Okay? So this is what I love about Six Sigma, process orientation. And at the same time, I think this is another benefit when you get to focus on Six Sigma. It helps you structure your thinking. Okay, this is quite helpful, especially if in your line of work you get to facilitate meetings. It gives you a set of tools that can both address what we call as a divergent thinking and a convergent thinking, and it helps you tackle the different problems in a structured way so that you can come up with a solution. Okay, structured thinking. And actually, this slide here, I used this when I gave a talk to chemical engineers. These were the competencies that were identified by the board of chemical engineers and what would make an effective engineer in the 21st century. So there's complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, judgment, decision-making, service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive flexibility. So these were just some of the competencies. And actually, a lot of this can actually be covered and be developed when you study Lean Six Sigma. So I guess that's it for now. I do hope I was able to give you a glimpse on how Lean Six Sigma can be considered as a toolkit. It has a lot of useful tools that you can use, and what will be its benefit for you as a freelancer if you get to know more about Lean Six Sigma. So that's it for now, and I hope to see you in our next session.